Hi, this is Carlin Laborio, and this is part three in a video series all about conferencing and how to get your student to that next level and what questions you can ask your student to get them to that next level. So, watch this video if you want to know how to conference with and approach a student. The student I'm going to show you has an amazing effort, but is a very low ESL student, and I'm going to show you how to come up with some glows and grows. The main focus this student needs to really work on is answering the question thoroughly, rearranging some of his thoughts. You're going to see how it's kind of all over the place, and working on the explain. So stay tuned if you want to know how to conference with your student. All right, let's get started. So just a quick look at the prompt that I showed you in the other two videos. If you haven't checked out part one and part two, make sure you take a look at those. One of them is going to show you how to take a MEET student to masters on that high level. And another one is going to show you how to take a really low student that only wrote 2 sentences to a from like a does not meet to an approaches or even to a meets. Okay. So the prompt, same prompt, was explain how one girl's promise impacts her city and the people who live there. So they really had to answer the question about how that promise that she made impacted her city and the people who live there. And so, how do you get the student to improve? How do you conference? What questions do you ask? And we're going to choose 1 to 2 glows and 1 to 2 grows or areas to focus on. We're not going to tell them everything wrong with their writing. We're just going to focus on a few things to really get them confident and ready to grow in their writing. Okay, so let's take a look at the student's essay. Okay, let's take a look at the student's essay. So the promise ECR, the student wrote, the girl's promise impacts her city and the people by putting acorns around the city into the ground and letting them grow into trees. So as you can see, they didn't really answer the question thoroughly. So we're going to talk about that on the next slide when we get into how to help them. But remember, at first, you want to just focus on the positives. So you can either pause it and read it yourself, but I'm also going to read it because some people listen to YouTube videos while they are walking or doing laundry or cooking or doing things like that. So I'm going to read it to you. The old lady said, "Do you promise to plant these around the city to make the people be happy? The girl who planted the acorns on the ground will go to another city to plant because she wants to make everyone be happy and be kind." The book said the trees made everyone happy because the city did not have trees and it has colorful color. I think the solution was trees because they had color and the people did not have trees for a long time. The city was mean and hard, even ugly, before the trees were there. This proves that the passage that the people are mean, hard, and ugly. The girl promise impacted her city by acorns because it says the city was mean, ugly, and hard, even with no trees. When the acorn turned into oak trees, the people was surprised, and they be nice together, be friendly, and have picnic together. So when you hear me read it out loud, you can tell that it is definitely an ESL student. There are some language difficulties. But I would definitely congratulate the student on how much they wrote. I mean, this is huge. So I would say, wow, I love how you put periods at the end of your sentences and capitals at the beginning. You did such a great job with your quotation marks. Wow. And the quotation marks are not perfect. As you can see, they put the question mark outside the quote and the period outside the quote, but I would just, they gave it a try. Okay. Great job finding lots of text evidence. They could have just found one piece of evidence and they really tried to write a lot. You can tell that they're putting in a lot of effort. So I would congratulate them on that. I love how your conclusion really answers the question of how they changed. I feel like his conclusion was even stronger, was way better than his introduction. So that's what I'm going to use when we talk about the grows. I'm going to show him and have him compare his introduction to his conclusion. So listen to this conclusion. The girl promise impacted her city by acorns because it says the city was mean, ugly, and hard, even with no trees. When the acorn turned into oak trees, the people was surprised and they be nice together, be friendly, and have a picnic together. So he put a lot of detail into that, really showing how the trees made the people happy and how it changed the city. And that really truly is the question that the prompt is asking. So I think the student would get credit because of the fact that they put it in the conclusion. It doesn't specify where the central idea is. So even if they have it very strong at the end, that counts. But because I'm going to want to grow this student, I want to teach him how to fix his RA to make it just as strong as his S, the conclusion. Okay, but let's get into the grows now. Okay, so the main things I'm going to focus on with this student is to just really fix his RA to answer how it impacted the city and the people. Some of this essay is it kind of seems like it's out of order. So we're going to work on rearranging it to make it make more sense and flow. I'm going to get the student to read it out loud to try to fix some of the language issues with the subject verb agreement in just words matching and things like that. Basic sentence structure. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the RA. So I would say to the student, let's read your RA, your first sentence out loud, and I'll have the student read it out loud. And let's also read the S and let's compare. What is the RA, what does the S have that the RA doesn't have? And what could we add to the RA to make it even better? So another question you could ask is you could say, how does growing trees impact the city and the people? Because in the RA says, the girl's promise impacts her city and the people by putting acorns around the city into the ground and letting them grow into trees. How does that change the city? How does growing trees change the city? And he has the answer in the S. He says, because the city was mean, ugly, and hard with no trees. And then with the trees, the people were happy and had picnics together. So I would encourage the student, can you say that in your introduction, but in a different way? Can you rephrase it and say it in a little bit of a different way? And then I would get them to just take out that period and add on to that sentence, or they can make another sentence after the period. Okay. The next thing is I would say, let's rearrange these to put them in the order of the story. So the first piece of evidence, it says, the old lady said, do you promise to plant these around the city to make people happy? The girl who planted acorns on the ground will go to another city to plant because she wants to make everyone be happy and be kind. So I don't know if the student is talking about what happened at the beginning of the story and they just accidentally added in about another city, or this could have been at the end of the book after she made her city beautiful. Then she wanted to go to more cities to make those cities beautiful. So if that's what he's trying to say, and I would only know this by talking to him, if that's what he's trying to say, I would probably move that one to the end. And since he already typed it on the computer, I would show him how to highlight that paragraph and cut it and move it to the third. It would kind of probably be best to put that towards the end. And so I would ask the student, when did she go to another city to plant trees? Was that at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the story? It's best to put it in order of the story. Okay, and then let's look at this third piece of evidence and explain. It says the city was mean and hard, even ugly, before the trees were there. This proves at the passage that the people are mean, hard, and ugly. So you were talking about before the trees, the city was ugly. Did that happen at the beginning, middle, or the end? Because you have it at the end. And so hopefully the student would say that was at the beginning. So that should be moved to the beginning as one of the first pieces of evidence. It would make more sense. Okay. And so after I do that, I would have the student read it out loud to try to fix some of the language, which that would go more under conventions, but I would probably work on that next or at a second conference. But that's something that I think is a major issue that would definitely bring points down. But first and foremost, I would work on the revising and having them just rearrange it so that it goes in the order of the story. And they could also work on the explain. So let's look at this third one where they said the city was mean, hard, and ugly. This proves that the people are mean, hard, and ugly. Now you basically just said the same exact thing for your explain. So I would say to the student, can you think of a different way of saying that? What does that prove? If the city is mean, hard, and ugly before the trees were there, how can you explain what the trees did? How did the tree, remember the question is, how did it impact or change the city or the people? So, what does that prove if it was ugly before the trees were there? And hopefully the student would say something like, well, that proves that once they put the trees there, the city became more beautiful and lush or green. And that would be a better explanation instead of just repeating what the evidence is. Okay. And then the other thing you could do, I wanted to throw this idea out there that I do all the time, is if the student is just not getting it, sometimes what you can do is stop everybody, time out, and share on the smartboard or under the document camera an exemplar student sample. And you don't have to read the whole essay. You could just look at the RA and you could say, wow, look at the, let's everybody stop what you're doing. Let's look at the student's RA and give them a shout out. Look at how the student answered the question really well. The girl's promise changed her city and its people by making the people laugh, smile, and talk, and it made the city greener and gave people more air. I mean, wow, didn't he do such a great job of answering the question and really explaining how it impacted the people and the city, how the trees did that? I just thought, sometimes if they see a good example, then they might know what to write on their own paper and they're not copying it exactly, but they're getting a great idea. And so this is the type of scaffolding that you need to do in the beginning. I would say most of, the first half of the year. And then after they've done a few like this, where you're talking about it, you're discussing it, you're conferencing, then they can start doing some independently. But that group work and that sharing is essential for getting your kids to grow with their writing. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more, don't forget to check out my website. I have in-person workshops and I have ECR online course that you can do from anywhere from your couch. And it has on-demand videos. Check out my resources on TPT, and I'm also available to come to your district. So send me an email if you are interested in that, and reach out if you have any questions. Comment below if this video helped you and if you want me to make more videos. All right, have a great day. Bye.